Okay, hi everybody. What's old is new, what's new is old, and this is a second film from this director. This is called The Substance.
Yeah, and we had talked before the film had started about how we've seen this kind of story done,
Yeah.
usually in smaller, like, horror anthology style. So it was interesting to see a 2 hour and 20-minute version of this kind of a tale. And is it successful? We don't know.
Yeah, I'll get to more why I explain what's old is new and new is old. Let's talk about it.
Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. Thanks for finding us. Thanks for watching. And for our loyal fans, you know I'm going to say it. Sincerely, thank you for continue watching. We have a Patreon. Yep, check that out for some great deals and opportunities to tell us what movies we can review for future episodes. With, of course, a shout out to you as well. You can follow us on all social medias. Kyle and I are members of the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. Check out our colleagues' reviews also on the webpage. Today we're talking about a relatively new film, new horror. God, it's really good movies for horror movies.
Remember how we said horror wasn't doing great at the beginning?
Yeah.
I'm really happy.
Gosh, all right. So we got a new one, The Substance. What's going on?
So, fading actress and fitness star Elizabeth Sparkle is looking for a way back to fame when she's offered a mysterious drug called The Substance, which duplicates a younger, better version of herself.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about it as if you've already seen it. If you haven't seen the movie yet, please stop tape, go see it before we talk about it, because we're going to have to talk about things that are not revealed in the trailer to have a kind of conversation about it. I want to talk a little bit about it, not the perspective of good or bad, but the lot of influence of things you've seen before. This is very much an influence of Kubrick horror, of Cronenberg horror, of even, I would say, like Neon Demon, of Nicholas Renning horror.
Vibe, yep.
Yeah, so it's a kaleidoscope, very meshy mess of a film that I think a lot of horror fans would enjoy, and the public mass is not going to accept.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. So sometimes when critics leave these critic screenings, the rep will be there and they'll be kind of asking initial thoughts. And the studio had asked for critics to stop and give a few notes. Yeah. And so I was leaving the theater for this behind a woman. I literally heard the end of her conversation saying, I lost 10 IQ points in the last half hour of this movie. And I couldn't disagree more over my total experience with it. She must have just loathed that film. But I was kind of the complete opposite. I kept wondering, are they going to go any further than this? And then they kept ratcheting up the insanity level that I think Corley Target is going.
The dial slowly turns up. I would say very clever with camera work. Everything seems disgusting, even people eating, people smoking, even just having narrow conversation based on angles. I do like the wide, long shots of using kind of lifting from Kubrick. You have the long hallway, very much looks like something lifted from The Shining. And you have this play on not so much is Demi Moore a victim or is she an instigator of what is happening to her? Is she a consequence of her own actions, or is she part of the cog in the wheel of this systemic society that has this platform that you want to reach that you're never going to be able to attain?
Yeah, and I mean, let's at the very least, we have to recognize the fact that Dennis Quaid in the film is named Harvey and is a producer who is overseeing both the old and young version
very
of
loud
this character.
Yeah.
So you can see a lot of, I don't know, other Harveys in film in that character. And I will say, if you were going to see one Dennis Quaid movie this month, skip Reagan and check out The Substance, because he is having a blast playing an absolutely despicable character. And I did want to highlight as well, Demi Moore, this movie, I'm not sure if it came from an idea that she had or if it kind of was the perfect thing for her. Basically, when Charlie's Angels Full Throttle came out, there was that trailer. And anybody who was around during that time remembers the trailer of Demi Moore running at like 50-something in a bikini and looking better than I ever would at 50. And she was this hot villain in the film, and she said that actually damaged her career because she was too old to be a sex symbol in Hollywood's eyes and too young to be a grandma character, which is what she never, she was never really in that zone of getting it. And so you can see a lot of the actress herself in this film, and that's why I think it's maybe her strongest performance in decades, maybe ever.
And she wholeheartedly commits to it, man.
Yeah.
And then she goes to areas that I didn't think she was willing to do.
Yeah.
And she does. Counterpart, we have another kind of rising actress. I remember her from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
She was also in The Nice Guys. She was the girl that they were looking for. in The Nice Guys. We saw her a little bit actually as well. Talk about movies where Margaret Qualley is created. She was in Poor Things as one of the creations of Willem Dafoe in that film as well.
There she is. That's the other thing. Who has definitely a stock being raised with this film as well. I get the joke of the movie because it's a female director. We have a lot of concentration of female body horror, but we have a lot of. I don't think of any other movie that has so much butt shots.
Yeah,
just butts.
A lot of butt.
Male butts, girls' butts, just butt, and butt, rear ends. And I think it's not so much the infatuation, but a statement of what people want. And it's almost joking like, well, audience want to see butt. Well, I'm going to give it to them.
Well, and there's also a statement to be made about like the intimacy of looking at your little imperfections. You know, she's got kind of Demi Moore's character has kind of like a birthmark on, I think it's on her side or on her arm. And when Margaret Qualley is kind of birthed from her, she has a similar kind of mark. And there's even that idea of like, I couldn't fix this because it was how I was born. You know, she like looked at that in kind of an odd way, but she's really happy that she's fit and taut and has like perfect breasts again, and like everything's like great about her, but she still has these things that bother her about the way she was when she was born. And so that unattainable perfection struggle as well with the intimacy.
So right, it's very out there. It's almost very sci-fi. I think it's heavily influenced about, I would say even Sam Raimi too, especially at the end. At the end, they went there with the end. Everybody's going to get their consequence. So a lot of emphasis of consequence, a lot of emphasis of who really is the villain of this. Is it people who want to participate? I mean, Elizabeth Sparkle wanted to be famous. She attained it. She wants to sustain it any way she can. I mean, is that a bad part of it, or is this you wanted to get this and want to hold on to it?
When you also have to think too, the substance doesn't, like the people behind it don't really give her all the details. You know, it's kind of like when they. I kept thinking of Gremlins with this movie because they give her like things you have to do to maintain this, and then of course she's going to start breaking those rules.
I like Gremlins reference because everything comes out your back too.
And so I felt that kind of Gremlinsness with it, where like we obviously gave you the rules knowing you're going to break them, but the same thing is true of Gremlins. They don't really tell them what happens when you break the rules, and she doesn't know what happens when you break the rules here. She assumes that it's not going to be a big deal until she gets that first consequence, and then it's not going to be a big deal again if it's just a little bit more like that drug addiction of it, you know.
Right, and also there's no currency exchange. It's just here, take this, you do it, and you make it better. But also there's a sense of you better know your authentic self before you do this, and they get mad of their dualities, like. How did you not know that you know yourself? You were going to do this.
Yeah,
you were going to take over.
It maybe involves like one of my like little nitpicks of the film is I do wish we had gotten into the psychological aspect of this Sue version of her.
Right.
And is she really the same person? Because it's almost that thing you wake up and like night you had a big party and you have to clean up after yourself. Like how much does one psyche involve the other one, because they are exchanging fluids when they try. There's some. I wish I would have been able to dive into like the psyche. Are they completely different people at a certain point in the film, or are they still her?
Rather than go over Ganchuan, I would like a little more like there's a corrupted core to Elizabeth Sparkle and a little corrupted core to Sue that doesn't get fully blossomed that I would love to see.
And I definitely know there's hinting at it, there's setup for it in the sense that it's like they keep telling Elizabeth that you are one. Like you two are one person who needs to be one. Yeah. And maybe that's the idea, is that they aren't one, and that's why they're having these struggles too.
Yeah, it's the old timage of duality of person, of introspective, but also searching for your authentic self, your ambitions, and your consequences of your actions, all played out in this hot mess of heavy influence of kaleidoscope of glitz and glamour, but also really disgusting. Yeah, I would say it's deliciously disgusting kind of a movie. I know that's kind of a play on words, but that's what I came in with. It's like, this is delicious to look to it. Sometimes it's like, wow, this is really beautiful to look at, and the other times like, oh God, no. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that goes to really, cinematography from Benjamin Crackham, I think I'm saying that right, who also shot Promising Young Woman, another movie that has a really blunt force object kind of a filmic tactic. Yeah. This movie also feels blunt force object, and I really think the visual storytelling, I noticed from minute one that this is going to be a very visually told tale. We get that opening shot with the egg. The fried egg, and they inject the substance.
Very symmetrical, very clean.
Yep. And then we immediately get what I think is a tremendous short film when that single shot on her Hollywood Walk of Fame star, and that kind of showcases where it was when they placed it down, and all the things that have happened, and the people that have walked over it, and all the cracks in it, and the guy spills his cheeseburger on it. Like, that is a great visual storytelling.
A metaphor like ketchup and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And disgusting.
And this movie consistently does great visual storytelling. I think if it was a silent film, you would still know what was happening.
Right.
Just the audio works as well, too.
Yeah. I think this has longevity. I think people will be talking about this movie for years. I also critique movies, and I also mentioned many times, if you want to make a movie film, make it memorable and unforgettable. This is very unforgettable. I will never forget I saw this movie at all.
And especially, like, I won't get into specifics about the last 30 minutes because you really just need to see it to believe it. But
right, we're not going to spoil that for you.
But I will say that I very rarely have moments like this. We know when people say jaw-dropping. I had a moment in the last 30 minutes when I finally realized, like, my jaw was hurting because I was sitting like this for so long. My jaw was like hanging away from my body in shock at what was being done, because I kind of thought I knew where we were going to go at the end, and in some ways we do, and in some ways we go further than that. And again, that kind of sticks with it. Maybe the film has a little bit of like fourth act syndrome where it kind of keeps going a little bit further than maybe it needs to, but at the same time, I don't want to take away what happens in the last 30 minutes either.
Push the envelope, push the boundaries of horror and cinema, push the aspects of what is horror and, you know, the definition of it as well. And it's very challenging. And like I said, this is not for the masses. I think a lot of people will be disgusted by it, but that's kind of the reaction I think they're going for as well.
Yeah, and the movie was picked up from its festival. I think it was picked up by Mubi, M-U-B-I, the streaming service that also releases their films on home video. I think they're a good service to have picked this up. So, you know, if you're a fan of like the artistic value in a lot of these kinds of films, you can catch it streaming there. But I had so much fun watching this in a packed theater. You know, I know that we say a lot like movies are experiential. You should, if you can, see this in a movie if you think you're up for what's behind the substance, because I think it was more fun in the theatrical viewing than I think I could have at home.
Yeah, overall, I'm going to give it like a 7.5 just because of the bold daringness of it and the risk-taking of it. This is just go it all for broke. This is a big, high gamble risk kind of a film. Yeah. And everybody bared everything they could for it.
Yeah, and I was resting right around an 8 out of 10. There are times when watching that movie when I think, oh my god, it's like a perfect movie.
Right,
and there's
then
some
you're like,
really odd things that happen that
and
kind
you sit
of
there, you're not going to do that, and you do it.
Yeah, and I go back like. I think the surprise of the film for me, because I knew Demi Moore was going to be great in this film. I knew Margaret Qualley was going to be great in it. But I had so much fun watching Dennis Quaid chew the hell out of that scenery. Like, for every bad movie he does something great. He has a cameo in that talking dog movie, Strays, that is the best thing in that movie, and it's better than any talking dog movie I've ever seen, just with his moment. So it's nice when he's having an absolute blast, and he is here.
Okay, that's a recommendation from us to go. Especially if you are big horror fans, keep the conversation going. And I appreciate all your horror fans going out to the theater to see more horror. I love the people going on the movie theater to see horror films.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you're looking for something similar to The Substance, once you have finished this movie, I got to recommend Society from Brian Yuzna. It's a movie I kept thinking of watching this damn movie, especially the ending. So you got to check out this movie. You got to check out Society, and tell us your thoughts on both down below in the comment section.
Especially if you're a butthead.
Yeah. And even if you feel like you could be. Yeah. So thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Kyle and Nick on Film. We hope you check out The Substance. We hope you come back and talk to us about it. You can find all of my film reviews over at goatfilmreviews.com, over on the Goat Film Reviews YouTube channel as well. We've got, I think, part 7 or part 8. I'm doing an entire walkthrough of everything in my physical media collection. It is taking a long time, but we're working through it. So go ahead and check that out as well. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching.